Hi, I'm Dr. Benjamin Shadwick. Welcome to another episode of Ruth's Torah Gleaning. Today's Torah portion is called Sarah, and it has to do with the life and death of biblical Sarah and also her husband Abraham. Now we know in Genesis chapter 17 and verse 16 that God himself had promised Sarah that she would have a son. In spite of her very old advanced age and the fact that she had been barren, God was going to make her have a son. And at first, I guess you could say that Sarah believed. But over time, she took matters into her own hands, as sadly many of us do the same thing. And what Sarah had planned was to go and ask Abraham, her husband, to go in to Hagar, her maiden, and they would have a son through them, through this union. And that's exactly what happened. And of course, we know that Ishmael was born from this union. And it says also in Genesis chapter 16 and verse 12 that Ishmael would grow into a nation, actually multiple nations. His seed would be vast in the world. But he would be a wild man. He would be a person that would go and be against his brothers even. And that's exactly what we can see happen if we just look around. We see in the land of Israel, in the nations of France and England, and many nations in Africa, also in the United States, where the Muslim people have propagated and become strong, that they have also become very difficult and against one another. And this will continue for years and years. And we know it has continued for many years already. But finally it will come to an end. Because there's a prophecy that speaks of this, and it's Genesis 25:9. Where we already know that Isaac was born through the union that God said would actually happen. So Sarah did have the favored son, and his name was Isaac, and he would one day be the father of the Jewish nation. And of course, because of this union, then now you have two sons that are very much against one another. Isaac, the promised son, and Ishmael from the maiden, Hagar. And so they were against one another and in strife, and so they didn't live together. But when it talks about Abraham died, that these two brothers came back together and were able to stay together long enough to be in peace and bury their father. So we know that the Arabic people also consider Abraham to be their father, which he is. And also the Jews consider Abraham as their father, which he is. And the reason is because there's two brothers that are for all these years have been at enmity between one another, in strife, in fighting, in war. And we will see this continue until one day Yeshua, Jesus Christ, brings it to an end and rules and reigns from Jerusalem. And Genesis 25:9 is that prophecy fulfilled, when these two brothers can come together and be at peace with one another. And it'll happen because Yeshua will cause it to happen. And so our job, your job, my job, is to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May they love thee, may those who love thee have peace, and may those that curse you, Jerusalem, have curse. So I pray that you have a very good day. I pray that you will remember to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. God bless.